morning, everyone. Now, it is officially spring / early summer. Well, it might not look like it. Today is actually very cold. It's about, the high is going to be 55, and as you guys can see, it is raining, well, misting. But anyway, springtime, summertime means one thing. That is top water fishing. So today we are going to be out trying to catch ourselves some monsters with the top water. We've got a whole bunch of different top waters lined up, from frogs to mice to poppers to spooks. We're gonna throw them all and hopefully get on a big bite. So we're gonna go ahead, cruise on over to the spot, and I'll see you guys there. All right, gang. Today, I think we are gonna start with this popper. You know, right up here where we're starting is a big weed line, and there's really not too many surface weeds, as you guys can see. We do have a mouse tied on right there, and then a spook to my left or right. But I think we're gonna start with this popper today. I tend to get probably the best hookup ratio on the popper, and once we get a couple in the board, you know, I'll switch up to a spook, see if we can maybe get a little bit of a bigger bite, and then obviously that topwater frog and mouse will be used when we come into more of the pads and weed lines, but those are kind of more towards the other side of the lake. I wanted to start over here just because it is the less windy. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to tell, but it is a pretty steady mist right now. I'm hoping that the rain stays away, but unfortunately these past like 3 days in Michigan have just been 55 and raining every single day, so the weather has not been the best. But we got a break this morning where it wasn't a constant downpour. There we go. That did not take long. Fish on the first cast on the little popper. Come here. Look at that. Beautiful way to start today. First cast, we're already hooked up. Baby bass, mega bass popper. Sometimes you just can't beat it. Could if I could get it out of the fish's mouth. There we go though. Not a bad little guy. But yeah, that one kind of, well, actually you guys can see we do have weeds that are all the way up to the surface level. So, you know, it is 8 foot here and these weeds are about 7 foot tall. So this is a pretty froggy, fishy area of the lake. You know, I figure we're gonna start here, and it's honestly perfect that the wind, because you guys can see the rest of the lake. Actually, right now it's pretty glass calm, but just a few minutes ago when I was driving out here, the wind was whipping and blowing right in my face. But hey, first fish in, and that took less than 30 seconds when I was trying to explain the plan for you guys. Oh! Holy crap. I don't know if that was a bass or a pike, but that thing just got annihilated. Blew it right off the frickin' water. Holy crap. I doubt he'll come back for it again, but Jesus. That scared the crap out of me. I can't even lie. That thing went literally like 2 foot right out of the water. Well, at least we are in the right spot. But if only that thing could have held on for a little longer. These are honestly perfect conditions. If it was maybe 15 or 20 degrees warmer, this would literally be the perfect topwater morning. A lot overcast, cloudy skies. You know, the rain could hold off, but honestly right now it's not too windy, so you know, today's conditions are pretty good. The only thing I'm a little worried about is the possibility that some of these bigger fish kind of started to move out deeper already, because like I did say, we've been having this really bad cold front lately. So all these bigger fish who kind of were up in the shallows are, you know, moving out into deeper water, and you know, post spawn, that's kind of where they tend to head anyway. So I'm hoping that we can still, there we go. Look, at every time I start talking, one of them always wants to come up and grab this thing. Nice little bass. Here we go. Not a bad, I mean, honestly, these fish are very warm. So the water is about 12 degrees hotter than the air temp is. So maybe these fish are still up a little shallower, just because, you know, I showed a little B-roll clip earlier and the water is steaming out over by the river. But maybe these fish are still up a little shallower. We are on a weed line right here. You guys can see the pontoon, and then about 15 foot from in between me and the pontoon boat is all weeds. So I'm kind of just trying to work this thing right over top of the weeds, you know, give it a couple pauses, and hopefully one of these fish see it. And sure enough, came up and smacked it. Got him. Come on. Stay on in the weeds. Feels like a pretty nice fish. I don't even know if we have them on anymore, because we are dragging in probably like 10 pounds of weeds. Oh my goodness. Feels like I'm fighting a 30-pounder. What do we have? We do have them. All right, let's see if we can get them up here. Oh, and all the gunk. Ooh. Ouch, just gave myself a braid burn. Boom. Had to switch on up to the mouse, just because obviously you cannot drag a popper through all that junk, but easily our biggest of the day. Thank you for biting. I will say it has been a little bit of a challenge. You know, topwater fishing is so rewarding, but it can also be so frustrating, because you guys can see the fish, eat it. So when you miss it, you know, you're like, oh, I was so close. But, you know, it's also so fun, because the topwater blowups are just probably the best thing in fishing, in my opinion. But honestly, like I said earlier, the weather's just been, it's been so funky here in Michigan. You get 70s and sunny one week, 50s and cloudy the next, and then next week after this, it's supposed to get back up into the 70s and sunny. So the fishing patterns can be a little bit tough at times, I cannot lie, but it's honestly, you just gotta get out there and see what the fish are eating. And thankfully, you know, the water has been warm enough still to the point where I think these fish are still, you know, hitting on top water, but you can also go catch them out deep as well. You know, I was out fishing the other day with a buddy, and we were catching them out in 20 foot of water. So, you know, it's a little bit all over the place right now, but if that's how your body of water is, you just really have to go out there, cast around, and see what the fish are in the mood for. But we're gonna keep making our way up probably up until like that reddish pontoon. You know, this area is really, it's a pretty much just a weed bank. You know, once it gets deeper into the summer, like July and August, it kind of turns into more lily pads. But we're really gonna try and cast this mouse right up to the bank, work it as close as we can, because I don't know how well you guys will see, but they're like in between the bank and these weed patch, there is probably like 20-ish yards of, you know, sorry about that, there's 20-ish yards of like clear open water, and I think the fish are kind of in between that zone. And then once you're about to drag the frog or mouse, whatever you're throwing, right over the weeds, that's when they're gonna hit it. But like I said, we're gonna keep cruising, hopefully catch another one like that last one, and still look for that big one. There's one. What'd I say? Right as we got into the weeds, that guy came out and smashed it. It's a little bit of a nicer one. Ooh, come here, boy. Now that's a proper mouse bass. Probably like a pounder and a half to a pound and a quarter, maybe 3/4. But there you go. Just what I was saying. Casted it as close as we could up into the shallows, and then we were kind of just working it back slowly. And kind of right before I got to the weed patch, it shot out from the right hand side and just smoked it. But hey, 4 fish now. I think maybe the mouse is going to be the MVP of the day. You guys can see just a little lunghunt mouse. It was supposed to be brown, but you know, that's not the case anymore. All right, you guys, just pulling up to the second spot now. We are back in the bay. I was hoping that it would not be as windy as it is, but unfortunately the wind is blowing right at us. So hopefully, you know, we're still able to catch a couple. But, you know, the main lake is even worse than this. So I really just trying to pick the spot where I thought, you know, we'd have the least wind. And unfortunately, I was looking at the radar, and in about an hour, we are supposed to get some pretty nasty rain. So I'm really hoping that we are able to catch a couple more right before that comes, because, you know, I will fish in it, but I obviously prefer not to get sopping wet. But at least the rain did stop for the most part for now. Right now, we're kind of just dealing with the wind. But I think we're going to keep throwing this popper for a little bit. But, you know, I might throw on the spook just because it is getting a little hard to see this popper's action, especially in the wind. And, you know, I kind of want to throw something a little bigger, something that maybe makes a little bit more noise as well for these fish to see. The heck? Oh my gosh, it's a tiny smallmouth. Oh my goodness, this might be one of the smallest ones I've ever caught. It's like something so small you'd find in like a river. Hey little guy. Well, first fish out in the bay, but that barely counts. But hey, honestly, it's cool to see smallmouth outside of the river, because a lot of the times in this lake you only catch them close to the rivers, in the rivers, or like right by the river mouth. So to see them this far away from it, honestly, that's a good sign, because I'd rather catch a smallmouth probably 10 times out of 10 than catching a largemouth. They just fight so hard. Oh yeah. Oh yes sir. This one is pulling like it's a giant. Okay, this one actually is probably our biggest one of the day. That's the biggest one of the day because is this a smallmouth? I haven't really got that good of a view. Nope. It's a pretty nice largie though. Check out this fish. That is a really nice fish, you guys. I might throw this one on the scale. .4 pounder. Dang, that's a lot bigger than I thought it was gonna be. But heck yeah. Let this guy go. And there he goes. That fish was kind of just chilling right up in the shallows up there. Made a cast, and then that was one of those bites where it kind of just came up and gulped it. So I didn't really know how big it was until, you know, it started rip and drag pretty dang close to the boat. And then obviously 3.4 pounds, it's not a bad fish, especially for, you know, this lake and in Michigan alone. Anything over 3 I'd consider to be a pretty good, pretty healthy fish. So definitely happy that we managed to get that guy in the boat. Now we just got to get a couple more like that. But so far, honestly, today's gone pretty dang well. I'm not gonna complain. You know, we've been catching a lot of fish, had a couple sick blow-ups. Obviously that nice one. The weather right now at this very second is honestly pretty nice. You know, with no wind, it's really not too cold, but once that wind hits, it's pretty dang chilly, especially with all that mist. I think we're gonna call it a day here, guys. You know, the rain started to come. Honestly, the bite slowed down a little bit and the wind was just, it was whipping at the end. I think we went around an hour and didn't have a single bite. I did end up throwing even like a jerk bait around and couldn't get a sniff on that. So it's really the perfect time to end the day. But we caught a ton of fish. We had a couple epic topwater blowups, and then we caught that I think it was 3.4 or 3.5 pounder. So I'd call that a very successful day. You know, given the conditions we had, I mean, really, it wasn't too bad minus the rain, the wind. It was a little bit on the colder side for my liking, but you know, the fish didn't seem to mind, so I'm really not gonna fuss about it too much. I definitely will get out there and throw some more topwater. Once the weather gets a little warmer, you know, maybe when it's sunny and like 75, that'd be perfect. But honestly, I'm not gonna complain about how today went. I'm just happy we caught some fish and caught a couple big ones. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys all next time.